are you? It is Lori Hoy here, coming to you from my office. And I wanted to come in here today and just talk about something that I've been thinking about all day long. As most of you know, I have shared that part of my daily routine is to listen to or read some kind of personal development. Now, that can range from listening to things about nutrition, fitness, business. I don't know if the rest of you know Oprah Winfrey. I don't know her personally, but I feel like I do. Super Soul Sunday, anything that I'm interested in at that time, right? And today I was listening to a podcast, and it's one that is my favorite, and I have recommended it to everybody that I know. I mean, the people that are in my online groups, to my family, to some of my team members, and it's the Model Health Show. And it's not just about health and fitness; it's about overall being a good human. And the host is Sean Stevenson, who has been through his own life transformation from the time he was a child until now, hosting his own podcast. But today he was interviewing his name just escaped me, but he is the most famous sports recruiter business, Jerry Maguire. That's not the person, but that's the name of the company. So I think you all know that movie, Jerry Maguire, right? But I'm not here to talk about Jerry Maguire. And I one of the things that a lot of you will see on Tuesdays on social media is transformation pictures or posts about transformation. And when I listened to this podcast today, it stopped me kind of in my tracks to think about how I've transformed, not physically, but just, I guess, emotionally is the best way I can say it, or how I think I've matured in the last 2 years. Even though when you get to some point in your life, certain age in your life, people think you're mature, right? And I don't think that maturity has to do anything with your actions or how you act at a given moment or a situation, because there are times when I see friends of mine that I haven't seen in a while, and I start to act, silly, like a fifth grader, So maturity, I think, is about wisdom. I think it's about how you take that wisdom and apply it to a certain situation in your life. And so I guess for me, my maturity level over the last few years has changed. Yes, I can still be immature about certain things, but I titled this ToForThrough because the gentleman that was on the podcast today was talking about how life happens. Okay, you can either look at it in several different ways, and I think about how I took these 3 words and I applied them to myself. And I can say that before in my life, when something happened, whether it was, okay, I'll go back to high school when it was a breakup. It was something that was happening to me in the moment. I was sad. I blamed the world. There's something wrong with me, blah, 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 right? Or if I applied it to situations as an adult, there's not enough time. My boss doesn't like me. This happened. We have situations in our life that sometimes we take that role of it's happening to me, where we assume that victim role. I've been there, guys. I'm not pointing fingers, and I'm not saying that there aren't moments in my life where something happens and I'm like, and it's happening to me. But what I think I've done over the last couple years, and truly, it's working on myself every single day. Yes, it's a part of my fitness and my wellness, but it's not all about that. Because I've done the work and I continue to do the work. I don't say I've done the work as in I'm through, I'm done, and I've graduated, and I'm, this thriving, healthy, emotionally sound adult, because I think every day we have a situation that we have to figure out how we're going to present, or how we're going to present ourselves, how we're going to show up. So there was recently a situation in my household with my son where he was invited to go away on a trip, and he has to fly there. So one of the things that was mentioned to him is that the PA licenses now are changing. At least the domestic flights are now going to be requiring a passport and not a PA license. And that's all he heard. And so he kind of started to get a little bit of panicky about it, and thinking he was going to run out of time. And the way he presented it to me, it felt like this situation was happening just to him. The fact that he was going somewhere and he had to do something to change how he, would present himself with his ID. It was happening to him, not to anybody else, just to him, right? And I had to explain that this is happening to everybody that has a PA license, not just to you. Have you ever been in that situation where something's come up and you just think you're the only person in the world that's ever happened to, and it's this most horrible thing, and it's an inconvenience and whatnot. And that's when we take that victim role on. I have been there. In previous relationships in my life, and maybe, yes, it was because I was a teenager or whatnot, or even in my early 20s, it was all happening to me. And so I would shut down, and I wouldn't do anything to change the situation, and I would blame, and I would put off hurt onto other people. And so that's the starting point, I think, in this whole phase of transformation, where you are that person that everything happens to you. And then you get to a point in your life, or maybe even with that same situation, where you can sit back for a moment and look back on that situation or that trauma, and you realize that that didn't happen to you. It happened for you. It was something that you were supposed to experience. You were supposed to learn something from, and then move on. And I think for me, a lot of what I do now, and a lot of what I've experienced over the last several years of my life, I am living in that space of everything is happening for me. And I don't mean all positive stuff. I mean everything out there that's not, not the great situations. Domestic flights only need photo ID. Well, that's changing in January, Michelle, unless you know something I don't. Next year it's changed. Something's changing with PA licenses. That's what that was about. And I don't know, because I'm not traveling anywhere until March. So I am traveling domestic this year, but I think in 2019 something's changing with that. So anyway, you're a travel agent, Michelle? You would probably know this. Yeah, you would certainly know that. Something's changing, I remember. But anyway, so now I look at things that happen that may make me irritated or maybe angry. I get to that point, and I have to stop and think about that this is a situation that's happening just for me to learn something, just for me to take and maybe apply to a different situation. Maybe it's to learn how to be empathetic a little more in certain situations in my life, or that I have to learn gratitude in that situation. So I'm taking on that role of the last, I don't even know how long, where I think I've graduated from the life is happening to me to now life is happening for me. And that's a big change, because it really truly has to do with where you are emotionally in your life and how you approach every situation that comes. And you might see someone that's going through something far worse than you might be, but that doesn't discount the fact that you are going through something, right? I mean, we can sit here and say that there's always somebody else that has it worse off, right? But that doesn't mean your trauma or whatever it is that you're going through at that moment doesn't matter, because it does. And if you can take those situations and use them to learn from and gain more wisdom and move through, then you're going to be better off on the other end. And so in this particular instance, I mean, I was listening to him and hearing that, happening to me and happening for me, but then he went one step further. And so this is what's I've been thinking about all day. And I wanted to come in because I wanted to share it with you. And I want everybody out there to think about this. And maybe because it's voting day, and no, I haven't voted yet and I still have time, but it just hasn't been in the cards yet today. So don't send me nasty DMs that I didn't go vote and I don't have my sticker on. But what he said was really something I'd never thought about. And it kind of hit me profoundly, is that when you go through things, that if you can think that it happens not to you, not for you, but through you. Think about that for a minute. If things that are presented to you in your life happen to you, for it to go through you, for you to do something as a good deed to others. It was, and again, I'm going to, after this live video is done, I'm going to put in here the actual episode of the Model Health Show for you to go listen to, because it really was, it was a great podcast. And I thought it was, especially on Transformation Tuesday, when everybody always thinks about how people transform physically. And I think there's so many different ways that you can transform yourself. It doesn't have to be the outside. I truly think the inside is far more important than what the outside shell looks like. If you have a good heart, if you have a kind soul, that is far more impressive to me than a set of six-pack abs, even though they're nice to look at. I'm not going to lie, right? I'm nowhere near that. But if you're going through a situation right now and you're sitting back and it's why me, that I believe is you are the person that's thinking this is happening to me. And then you're sitting in that and you're wallowing in that and you're stuck there. And then I think the next step in that process is when you go through that, you have your moment of maybe you think, why me? But then you're like, wait a minute. This is not happening to me. This is happening for me to learn something new, for me to take this lesson and change maybe somebody else's life or change my life. And then the ultimate, and I think this is what I'm going to be striving for the rest of 2018, is that what happens to me, whatever the situation might be, good, bad, or indifferent, that it happens through me, that I take that situation, I apply it that moment, and how can I use that for somebody else? Not for me, not just to change what I'm doing, but to transform it into a good deed that I could do for someone else. And it was just one of those things that I heard, and I definitely have never heard it that way. It struck a chord with me. I actually did a leadership training today with my sister, and I shared this with her as well. And I just thought it was super profound. And if truly the words that I heard today are moving through me to maybe make you think about the situation you might currently be in, if you're stuck in that, it's happening to me, all this is happening to me, and I can't seem to get out of that hole. A lot of times I equated that happening to me as relationship stuff, because relationships to me are the most important, the most valuable asset you have in your life, because we are all hardwired for connection and community. And when we don't have that, we only suffer. And so when you get yourself into that position of it's happening to me and you're bogged down with all of that on top of you, you're suffering. And if you can take that same situation, maybe it's a breakup, maybe it's you got fired from your job and you're blaming your boss, or you're blaming the ex in your life, and if you take that moment and you say, okay, I know this happened, but now what am I going to do with it? How can I make this situation turn to something into my advantage positively and take it as happening for me and then eventually through me. So anyway, guys, I don't know whether that made a lot of sense to you. It did to me, and I wanted to share it with you and come in here today on Tuesday, on Transformation Tuesday, and share with you my thoughts. As always, I want to come in here and give you something to think about, whether it be something funny, something, heartfelt or whatnot. If you have felt that this has made any kind of impact on you, or maybe somebody that you know, I would love to hear from you about that. Either drop it in the comments, or I would love for you to share, to say, this message I needed to hear today. And so that's the message that's moving through me now. I could have listened to that today and sat on it and not thought about it anymore, but I shared it immediately because it definitely changed the way I feel about certain situations and things that are going on right now in my life. I mean, there's a lot and we all have things. We all have stuff that we're going through, but we don't have to go through it alone, guys. And we can take the situation and we can use it for good, or we can use it to harm either ourselves or other people. And I choose to take those situations and let them move through me to change or help somebody else in their hour of need. So anyway, I'd appreciate if you would take a moment and share it with someone if you feel that they need to hear this message. As always, I always ask that when you do share, you tell that person why you're sharing it with them. It means more to them than just see it in your. I've even asked people if they share a video with me, I'll say, why'd you share that with me? What were you thinking? I want to know. I want to know why someone shares something with me. Sometimes if it's a funny one, I get it. But when there are, things that you share with people, I think it just makes it so much more valuable if you give them a reason why you thought of them. So anyway, okay, that's all I have for today, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Again, I appreciate you. On my Full Fit Life page, I posted today a video of some cooking that I've done. I've done that in the past, and it's something I really liked, and I had someone ask me to do some more things with cooking and sharing recipes and things like that, just for ideas. And if that's something that you're interested in finding out, go to my like page, Lori Hoy, Full Fit Life, and you will see that video over there. I made some fish bites that were super tasty in my air fryer. Nothing super difficult, because that's what I like, things that are super easy to make and that are tasty and all that. So anyway, go over there and check that out. Like it, share it, all those things. I just want to get the word out. I'm here to help in any way possible. So I hope you're having a great Tuesday. And if you haven't, as I haven't, go let your voice be heard and go vote. Have a great day.